everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of TVG Talk. My name is Paco Triviño and today I'm joined by Lauro Chapa.
Hey guys.
We'll be talking about the Mega Man X collection announced for pretty much every console out there on PC. And we'll be giving you our thoughts on it, and we'll also be touching upon some of the Capcom collections, what they've released so far in recent years, and what we believe should be released in the near future. So, Lauro, this week they announced that Mega Man X collection will be coming in two parts.
Yes, it
The
is.
first one coming in X1 through X4, and the second one being X5 through X8. And so, first off, what do you think about the split?
I was hoping for it just to be one collection, but I've heard some people say like, well, they actually separated the bad ones from the good ones. So if you just wanted like maybe some of them, now's your chance to get them. So yeah, I'm kind of split myself for this decision.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I do think it's kind of interesting how they approached it, because I think that it's almost detrimental to Capcom themselves.
Right.
Because each collection being $20 every half is very cheap, honestly. $20 for what's basically 3 of the best Super Nintendo games and then a 4th game. Pretty much the best one after that is an absolute steal. And then the second part, they might not be as good as games, but especially X5 I think is the saving grace of that collection, and they're also much newer games. So I think that kind of contributes to the fact that, hey, maybe they're worse, but they're newer. The technology and the work to emulate them probably was a bit bigger. So I can see how balances out, even if a little, at the end.
Yeah, maybe they thought that if they made one collection, people wouldn't spend $40 on it.
I guess that's it. That they wanted to keep them in very approachable prices. If I'm not mistaken, $20 is what Legacy collections cost, if I'm not mistaken, or at least costed when they came out. I mean, something that we do have to mention is that physically they will only be available in a 2-pack with both collections together.
Yeah, there was some kind of confusion because people thought that it was this physical 2-pack was only coming to the Switch, but it's actually also coming to the PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, and actually on the Switch is kind of of the suckiest version, because really the cartridge only has the first one, and then the second one has to be digital either way.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's that weird thing with Switch games sometimes where they have to rely on the digital.
Yeah.
I don't actually understand it with this particular release because, for example, they did the exact same thing with Resident Evil Revelations. But with that one, I can see how you would need a second cartridge or something. They are basically 2 complete games. But here, I fail to see how you would need. How many gigabytes is this collection? I don't know. I guess that I fail to see where is all the space, building up, I guess. I still think that it's a great value, $40 for 8 games. If you want to dive into Mega Man X, get the first collection. If you've never played these games, don't really bother with the second one. They are going to sour you a little bit, but if you find it physical, perhaps cheap, or $40 doesn't seem like that big of an investment for basically 3 of the best games ever made, I'd say you go for the second one. I mean, I will go for the second one because I'm interested especially in 5. 5 is probably the best one out of the bunch, and 8 is also not so bad. 6 and 7 are the ones that I do remember, especially 7 being terrible. Right. But 8, I do believe there were some saving graces there. Like, it was a refinement of the ideas in 7. And I'm especially interested in the extra features, I mean, I already have Mega Man X, for example, a couple times between the 3DS, Wii U, the SNES Mini. I already have that particular game a handful of times. I'm very interested in seeing some of the gallery and the challenges that they announced that they would be bringing. So yeah, the extra content is always welcome.
Right, they announced a mode where you fight 2 bosses, right?
I think that it's not limited to that. I think that what you do is it's like a gauntlet of villain.
So how would that work?
I mean, I don't know because it's a new mode entirely.
Yeah.
But from what they've told, it reminded me of the Kirby games, the gauntlet at the end when you beat the game, and you fight villains in like a stronger version of the same villain, or 2 of them at the same time, and then perhaps 3 of them, and you have like all these powers at your disposal, so you always have your desired strategy from the get-go, things like that. That's kind of what I think they'll be going for there.
Right.
What I don't know is because the art style that they chose for that challenge mode is very similar to 4 and 5. But I don't know if it'll be available in different game styles or different game modes, or if it'll all be, in that art style. I don't know. So yeah, that's the Mega Man X collection. I personally believe that the first part is a must, and the second one is more of a hardcore fan type of thing.
Yeah, right.
I guess not too dissimilar to Mega Man Legacy Collection, where the first one is a must, but the second one, you start seeing some shortcomings of that series. I don't know, I guess that we could actually compare it to Mega Man Legacy Collections 1 and 2, and I'm actually very interested in comparing them because I think that they added a few more things in those. I don't know, do you agree with me with the collection?
Yeah, they kind of did, with some galleries and sound options and the different filters and borders and art style and menus, and I think they did add more stuff with those, but maybe these ones didn't need that much to add to them.
Yeah, I guess that the issue is that they are really, really pushing themselves to a very cheap price, and I think that could have contributed to them not adding all that much. Because yeah, Mega Man X, the Mega Man Legacy Collection, for example, had a ton of challenges, and even more if you had the Mega Man Amiibo.
Yeah.
Now, like, it had a lot of extra content, even if you already have the Mega Man games, elsewhere. So yeah, this one seems to be a bit of a more bare bones experience in some areas, I guess.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it has less games than, especially the first one, because I think the second Mega Man had only 4, right? Like,
it's
7 through 10.
7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, the big difference is the first one that had 6. But oh well. I'm glad these games are being re-released at all. Having them on the go on the Switch will be a fantastic experience. And well, I guess that this could open up a discussion about Capcom remakes and collections. And first off, I wanted to sort of recapitulate some of the past collections and remasters that they've made, and some of the upcoming ones. And well, in their sort of legacy, they have the Darkstalkers Resurrection, Okami HD, Resident Evil 1, Dead Rising 1, Dungeons and Dragons, and in the upcoming, we have Street Fighter 30th Anniversary, the Devil May Cry series, and Resident Evil 2. And so basically what we have is a collection. We have some collections in Street Fighter, in Darkstalkers, in Devil May Cry, Dungeons & Dragons, and we have some remakes. So honestly, from what we are seeing, they can go either way with every franchise.
Yeah.
So I guess the next point would be, first up, do you have anything that you would like to talk about in these re-releases and collections and everything?
Well, just to notice that they do this for several reasons. One maybe like to reignite interest in these franchises, because some of the franchises maybe like are not present today as much, or like had their best games in the past and want people to know about them, so later on they can make another one. Like for example with Mega Man, maybe they thought that Mega Man was not people were not interested in Mega Man anymore, but they saw that in fact they were, and then they make Mega Man 11. So I think these collections and remakes are important, so that we let them know, hey, we still like the series and we would like you to continue to work on them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And actually, it saddens me a little bit that you actually opened my eyes to the fact that that's probably why we haven't seen a new Darkstalkers. Perhaps Darkstalkers Resurrection didn't sell well, and that's why we didn't see a comeback, unlike how Mega Man is having a brand new game. But
Yeah.
on the bright side, that could mean that we could see a new Mega Man X game in the near future.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nice. And yeah, I totally agree with you. And Capcom has been sort of leaning a little bit more on their legacy, and like you're saying, perhaps see what works for the future. And yeah, so the next point would be talking about some of our ideas, some of the stuff that they could be bringing, some of the stuff that they could remake or compile into collections. So first off, I would like to start with you. What remake really stands out to you that they could bring?
Well, one that I would really like is Beautiful Joe. Yeah, the reason I want this remade is because it has a cool art style, but it does look dated now. So I think a cleanup of the visuals would be really cool. I think the game had really cool gameplay mechanics, and he's a staple in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. I mean, not so much for Infinite, rest in peace. But
Right, that game is not a staple itself.
right. But yeah, I think people really remember this character and this series, and I think it should be given another chance.
Yeah, with the art style part, I definitely agree with you. It has a great art style. A lot of people compare it to Wind Waker, and with the cel shaded and everything. So if that game can look even half as good as Wind Waker, HD, it's going to be gorgeous. So, and yeah, the characters, they have endured. They have a very timeless look, and I think that there would be some hype behind bringing them back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that unconsciously, partly why I liked Wonderful 101 so much is that it reminded me a little bit of Beautiful Joe. So
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a fantastic game to bring, and especially let's see how early 3D platformers like 2.5D, I guess, stand the test of time. I guess it's my turn for my remake. And earlier in the generation, I guess, one of my favorite 2D games or 2D platformers was DuckTales, and I think that they nailed the presentation, they nailed the gameplay, the level design, everything. So, I would really like Capcom to bring back Way Forward and remake DuckTales 2. I mean, sadly, the original voice actor for Scrooge McDuck has passed away, but I was thinking that it could also be an opportunity to bring the whole new cast from the current DuckTales. And actually, from a marketing and financial standpoint, that would make a lot of sense for Disney as well, to tie it with the new series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think about maybe DuckTales 2 remastered?
Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, it's one of the most solid platformers out there, and People really connect with that series and those characters. And yeah, I mean, and if it did good and everything, they could even make another one based on the new adventures they're having right now.
Yeah, that would be cool actually. So yeah, what would be your next remake?
Yeah, I would like them to remake a rather recent game. Really, I think it came out 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I'm talking about Street Fighter versus Tekken. The reason I want this remade is because when it was released, it came out really bad. First off, the visuals were not good. People didn't like them. There was a weird system in which you had some gems, and those really changed the flow of the gameplay, the game style a lot. And then they made some DLC gems that were essentially a pay-to-win system for the game. And then they had on-disc DLC for characters. So people were really pissed and were really confused as to what to make of this game. But when you really play it, it was a really solid game. It was a good translation of how Tekken characters would be in Street Fighter, and it was cool seeing those characters interact and whatnot. So I think that with a cleanup of the graphics and the art style, and taking away the gem system, I think a remake would be really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, we've talked about this before, off the record, I suppose. Yeah, like it's a very solid game that was played with problems outside the game itself. I guess that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is similar in that regard, where it has a solid foundation, but then the publisher and perhaps financial decisions got in the way of having a truly great game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that a second shot at that crossover would definitely be interesting. I mean, yeah, and like you're saying, they translated pretty well Tekken characters in 2D. I was actually kind of surprised. I remember that you told me that, and the problem is my mains that are Lars and Alisa were both DLC, and I took a while to buy it. But when I bought it, I was like, I totally see what you mean. That like they translated them pretty well, and it's a shame that basically Capcom screwed over what could have been a staple at perhaps Evo and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it was in one Evo, I think.
Yeah,
yeah, one.
But because it's a crossover of the two biggest fighting games, like not because of the game's own merits.
The two biggest fighting games? I don't know about that, but we'll go with that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually that's a great pick, a very interesting one, because I would wonder what changes they would make and what they would pick. Keep. And so yeah, I guess that the next point would be talking. Oh, I'm sorry, no. Actually, I have another remake that I would like to mention, which is kind of a technicality. So for those of you out there that don't know, Capcom actually has made a handful of Legend of Zelda games, and they made the Oracle games and they made Minish Cap. I'm not sure if they made Link's Awakening, but the ones that I would like them to remake are the Oracle games and remake them into one big world, a complete game instead of a two-parter.
Okay.
And would actually benefit a little bit, for example, the timeline, because right now people don't know which one takes place first, and sort of like people are sort of accepting that they take place at the same time, and like link them both simultaneously or something like that. I don't know how that would work, but that's kind of like the weird way that people are taking it right now. And if a link between worlds is anything to go by, you can definitely reimagine 2D Zelda gameplay into 3D beautifully and masterfully. Like if a link between worlds was their template, I wouldn't mind. Even on the Switch, I wouldn't mind, because that's a fantastic game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Oracle games, and perhaps I don't know if they would like keep them separated and joined through save files or something like that, or if they would make one long narrative. But whichever road they take, I want to see these two overlooked Zelda games get a new coat of, be sort of juvenilized or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that the next point would be talking about collections. And I would like to start with you. What collection do you think that Capcom could bring to PlayStation 4 and PC and Switch and Xbox?
The most important one right now, I think, would be a Marvel vs. Capcom collection. There was a one already in 2012, which was only of the two games before Marvel vs. Capcom, which are X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. Which, I mean, it's fine, but the staple is Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. Those are like the most important ones. And I think they could make one up to 3 even, like the first two that are not called Marvel vs. Capcom, then Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, and 3. Because yeah, those games are really a staple in fighting games and in video games in general, and one of the most recognized crossovers in all video games, really. And I don't think that any of those need fixes, really. I mean, if they put the last versions that they put out would be really cool. Maybe have online for 2 and 3, and I will be set with that.
Yeah, I think that's everything you said is true. The games are perfectly fine as they are. They could be arcade perfect ports of the games. Now, the only thing that I'm kind of on the fence about is if they would include 3 in there, because 3 is available in all current platforms, and I'm basing myself off of what they did with Street Fighter, where 4 was not included because of the same reasons. So, yeah, I do believe that they could make a Marvel vs. Capcom collection and have all the games, like all the way up to 2, for example. I do believe that they could do that. And like you were saying, it's one of the most famous crossovers, perhaps only second to Super Smash Brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, probably people, if you ask them, they don't really think of Super Smash Bros. As a crossover, but
it's so popular that at this point it's its own entity. So yeah, but yeah, that would be a fantastic collection to see.
Yeah, I was thinking of including 3 because the Marvel vs. Capcom brand right now it's really in shambles and people look down upon it. So maybe that would be like a show of good faith and appreciation for Capcom. Like, have all the good ones, and we will maybe work on something to fix Infinite, or I don't know.
Yeah, they could handle it a few ways. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they are giving away for free Ultra Street Fighter 4 when you buy it for PS4 and Xbox One. So yeah.
The Street Fighter 30th anniversary.
So yeah, they could do something like that with 3, I guess. The exact same thing. So yeah, my first collection that I would like to see Capcom release is a Monster Hunter collection. Now, I don't know how they would handle it in terms of if perhaps it's too heavy because of all the monsters and everything. I'm not sure, but I would definitely like to see them, especially talking about the last version of every game, like maybe not see Monster Hunter Tri, just 3 Ultimate, and not 4, just 4 Ultimate, and things like that. So yeah, Monster Hunter right now is as popular as it's ever been, and perhaps there's guys like me that would definitely like to see even before I joined the series, so to speak, with 3. I would like to see even before that. I mean, that early PS2 era and everything is very interesting to me, because they say that they were very, very simplistic in some areas. I don't know exactly what word to use right now, but I think that they would really benefit from a re-release in modern consoles, especially all the new fans that are appearing from thanks to Monster Hunter World. Maybe they would be like, hey, how did this started? And for a good price, why not? So, what would be your final collection that you would like to talk about today?
Yeah, my final collection would be Resident Evil. I was thinking maybe 1 through 4, because 5 is kind of recent. I don't know, maybe they could include 5, because there's already 2 after that, 6 and 7. Maybe they could even include 6, I don't know. But, I mean, up to 4 is the iconic ones and the ones that we need to be refreshed with. And I mean, 4 is in most consoles imaginable in existence, so yeah, why don't have it on another one? I think it's already on PS4. I don't know about Xbox One. And
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, maybe bring it to a Switch, and yeah, because those first Resident Evils are like what maybe started the real horror genre for video games, and I think it would be cool to see them.
Well, I don't know. I do think that some horror games came out before Resident Evil, like Afraid of the Dark and everything. But yeah, and actually Resident Evil, I would definitely like to see more of it on Switch. I was having a blast playing through Revelations 2 with my brother. It's a fantastic series. Now, I personally think, now that you are opening a conversation about a collection of Resident Evil, I think that instead of bringing the numbered ones, I would like to see Code Veronica and Zero. Well, I guess Zero is numbered, but
all right.
I know what I mean.
Where, spin-offs.
Yeah, spin-offs, perhaps Dark Side, Umbrella Chronicles. All the games that perhaps people have missed on throughout the years. I would definitely like to see them. In fact, I think that it was one of the developers that said that Resident Evil Code Veronica was supposed to be 3, just that they had a deal with Sony that 3 had to be an exclusive. So what they did was they renamed 3 Code Veronica, and they did a spin-off called 3 for the PlayStation. So yeah, that's actually very interesting, and I learned of that fairly recently. So I mean, either way, Resident Evil is a series that I think has a very rich history, and perhaps reinforce it on the new generations.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not short of games to put on a collection, so they could really go lots of ways with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, do you have anything else that you would like to add about either Mega Man X or the remakes and collections?
No, not really.
Okay, so I guess that's it for this particular discussion. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. And I hope that you liked this conversation. I personally love, just imagining what ways it could go with these games that I grew up with and I absolutely adore. So I'd like to pass the question to you guys. What collections or remakes would you like Capcom to make? We've given you some ideas, but perhaps if you have more ideas on the same games or other games, we'd definitely like to talk about it. Well, this has been Paco Treviño from the TVGamers. Today I was joined by Laura Chapa.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe for TVGamers for more conversations like this. Until next time, bye bye, guys.